Mr. James Scarlett, how are we, pal?
I am wonderful, mate. Wonderful. How are you?
Two big smiles here, two big smiles.
Yeah.
So minutes before we came on this podcast, which would be the day that we released Lessons Learned, it became the most successful in a single day's podcast, beating cancelled festivals and the near death of Damnation. Was the most we'd ever done in a day. Here we are at 8 o'clock on the day we release Lessons Learned, and it has blown it out the water.
Yeah. Happy days. People are probably getting a bit sick and bored of us going, this is our best ever. This is our best ever week.
I tell you what,
But
when it
it's our
stops
best ever
happening,
week.
when it stops happening, we'll stop doing it, all right? And did you say because you're a Spotify chart kind of guy, we went back up, did we?
Mate, this morning I was looking and I was like, fuck, I can't find us in the top 10. We're at number 11. And then I refreshed it this afternoon and we're back up at 5. Lovely.
Mate, honestly, listen, and listeners, my wife doesn't care. My kids do not care. My mum and dad don't care. So well, I'm telling you guys, okay, someday, James cares and I care, so you're getting told, and that's the end of it.
I think some people care. It's nice to be at the top of the charts, isn't it? But, well, we're not at the top, but near the top.
Close enough. Close enough. So how's things?
Good. I've had a fucking mental week. A bonkers week. I mean, the good of it is that we've done this thing called Season of Good Stuff at 2000 Trees, where we've done every day we've like announced some things. So we announced some food and beer. We're like 2000 Trees is partnering with Arbor Ales from Bristol this year, which is I'm super happy about because they're basically my favourite beer. Yeah, a load of food and a few more bands. And the most exciting thing I think is that we've announced Silent Disco that we are doing. Did you see the Ocean do Silent Disco at Arctangent last year?
If you remember correctly, so the Ocean had a wee bit of a technical, something wasn't right. I can't remember the ins and outs of it, but you and Hayden and the band and everybody managed to get like a silent disco. But at that point, I was gone. I was in the VIP area with White Russians, and I had like 4 missed calls or something for you. And afterwards, you're like, "Did you see the Ocean at silent disco?" I was like, "No, mate." Like Miles, like he was trying to get you over here to see this fucking feat, this achievement that he had managed. So no, and I've regretted it ever since.
So we've done Silent Disco live stuff a few times at ATG. Gallops did it, the Algorithm did it to varying degrees of success. And I feel like the Ocean just convinced me of the concept. So now this year at both 2000 Trees and Arctangent, there will be every single night live band Silent Disco sets with basically you take your headphones off, it's silent, put them on, you can hear the band. So we just announced a load for 2000 Trees. It's the first time we've ever done it at Trees, and it's going to be cool. Like a bunch of like really exciting sort of rock and electronic bands like Calva Louise, Snakes, the Harrow, Cody Frost, a bunch of others. So yeah, people seem pretty excited by that, I think. So go on.
Is it difficult? Is it technically difficult to do?
So if you think about it, what you're trying, and I'm not a technical man, but what you're trying to do is create a stage which is silent. So you can't have monitors, you can't have amps on, you cannot have normal drum kit. So it's basically electronic drums, like modular amps, and as everything you can just gets direct input straight into what would be the PA, but it's just like a mixer that goes through some sort of like antenna thing to the headphones. I mean, that is about as technical as I get, which is not very technical.
Good enough, it made sense to me. So
yeah, I've got a production manager that can do that sort of stuff. So yeah, as long as I think the hardest part is convincing like the guitarist that they are not going to have a Marshall amp making a load of noise, and the drummer is literally going to be hitting an electronic drum kit that might never played before. So you have to go through quite a few bands before you find the ones that are interested in even discussing that sort of idea. It's going to be cool. And at Trees, it's going to be in the forest. So yeah, Wednesday night, mate, me and you over a White Russian will watch Cody Frost, which is not going to be your usual listening, but we're going to watch Cody Frost do a silent disco set. There you go.
Hyping this 2000 Trees adventure up week by week. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be
good. I'm excited that you're coming. And And the sort of direct reverse of that is I have had an absolutely terrible week of festival organising, and I've got. I'm not sure you're very good, Gav, at like keeping. You either talk or you don't talk. You keep stories under wraps. Where I keep saying to people, "I've got a story. I'm not. Well, I can't tell you, or I'll tell you another day." Well, my week this week involved me filing a report for police harassment based on some shit that went down on 2000 Trees social media, and it has been very, very stressful. But in the fullness of time, will become a remarkable story that I will tell on this podcast.
Yes.
But there is
So
no way.
the promise is that you can't do it just now. I mean,
No, yeah,
it's a police matter as it stands, but you will tell that story at some
yes,
point in the
yeah.
line.
I'm thinking as soon as we're out of the field, maybe September, we'll do that. We'll do James's police harassment. So how it's not the police harassing me, just to be clear. It's me filing a harassment. Oh fuck. Okay, moving on. How's your week, Gav?
It's been a wee bit it's been a wee bit mad. It's been a wee bit mad. Not although you know what, forget my personal circumstances. I finally booked a night of salvation. A band. I finally got a band booked. So this will be out next week. So the band won't be announced by then. So I can't say who it is, and else you'll be getting that information days before out. But yes, album set, 20th anniversary set. Been taking me about myself and Paul. 3 4 months we've been working on it. It was a no, then it was a maybe, then it was a no again, and then more money get involved, and then the bits of us. So I hope, my God, I hope it's as exciting as we hope it is, because sometimes, Wilson, when you're dealing with bands that haven't been active in a while either, it's a wee bit finger in the wind stuff, isn't it? I mean, you think sometimes it's even better than you expect. Sometimes it's worse than you expect. So, that's one of three we're working on as we speak now, is over the line. So if
the
you
Damnation geeks are at home going, right, 25 years, haven't been active for a while. Okay.
I'm not even mentioning countries. That it's 20 years. I like the 25 years there. Sort of thrown them off the scent.
Okay, clever. Yeah,
I appreciate that. And so it's been a good, and also for, I mean, and I get what you're saying. We're not coming on to start each one, but we're just excited. This is still only episode, what, 16 will this be? So this is all still fresh and new to us, and bouncing up and down the charts and having people tuning in and listening is still pretty exciting. So, and I hope it stays that way. But everything's still trending in the right direction at the right speed. I mean, you're like got 1,000 followers now on that Two Promoters One pod page on Facebook. On YouTube, a few people had said to me about the Damnation Versus, because obviously that was a repurposed Damnation Versus page, which for Two Promoters One Pod, I have relisted all 36 episodes of Damnation Versus. If you scroll down, they're all in their own section now. So, including two very good episodes with Mr. Scarlet here. So anyone who was looking for them or hadn't quite get through them by the time that we'd sort of stripped them off there and just put the Two Promoters One Pod, they're there to get involved with that. Have a wee look at that. And the playlist we're putting together is batshit as it is. People seem to be really enjoying it.
Yeah, I've been enjoying Modest Mouse actually. I've never heard a Modest Mouse song to my knowledge, but yeah, it was. I used to be quite prejudiced against anything sort of connected to indie.
Yeah.
And like, I think it's because I traumatized from when I was a teenager, because you could either be a rocker or an indie kid and you weren't allowed to cross the line. Yeah. Do not listen to Radiohead. So yeah, I think I had Modest Mouse pegged in the enemy indie world, and I'd never listened to them, but I've enjoyed that song. And also that Battle of Mice song's cool. I love it. Whenever I listen to Julie Christmas, I've got you ringing in my head, because you say the demented pixie, don't you? that's your description of Julie
and
Christmas.
A very complimentary manner. In fact,
absolutely.
I think I might have said that too, Julie, and she took it as a compliment. So that's I mean, people always go back to the metal Bjork, which it works too, but that vocal, it takes a lot. I'm looking forward so much to seeing Julie Christmas at an event that's not mine, and just being like, yes, let's go. That is such a great book, and I think now with Roadburn and Damnation behind it, there is going to be so many more people that are there knowing what to expect. That new tune, for on the record, I've really tried hard not to choose Supernatural, our latest tune, for the on the record, because I've already done Mariner and then I've done Battle of Nights, and like just sitting here like the PR campaign for Julie Christmas. So it will come at some point, but so far so good. I am.
Well, there's an album coming, isn't there?
Yes, yes. Well, I
Album
think you're the
June.
festival. I think Roadburn were promised that album, and it never transpired. And then Damnation were promised that album, and it wasn't here. And here we are, still months later, and the album's still here. So I take it is coming in time for Art Tangent. So we should know the tunes that she's playing by that point.
Yeah, can't wait. It's going to be good.
This episode will be the great merch debate. We will get in about the controversial subject of merchandise, merch cuts, price fixing, how much it costs, how much it costs to make to actually get delivered, how much it costs to then present to a fan. Before that, though, we will give a wee shout out to our good friend at Lou's Brews, Pod 15, lou'sbrews.co.uk. What else do we have to say about this guy? I mean, wholesalers, I suppose. He did mention beforehand he wants, if you're out there and you have a restaurant, you have a specialist store who stocks sauces, give the guy's site a chance. Get some of his sauces stocked in there. If you're not a wholesaler and you just want to get yourself some banging sauces and get yourself a wee deal, 15% off with Pod 15. Have you cracked your creeper ones yet? Or are you still nursing the last of the bottles?
I have cracked one of my creep ones, and I have to say, when Lou marks a bottle as extra hot, you really should just go in gently. And I didn't. I lathered it all over a ham sandwich and had about an hour of like, because none of his sauces I've had so far are like they don't blow your head off. They're like a lovely level of heat.
Yes.
This is fucking hell, man. I was just like,
he's got one. He's got one called Cherry Bomb. And they're all. You remember the alcohol hooch, and it made it look like you were just drinking a wee lemonade. All these bottles all look pretty friendly, you know what I mean? So when Cherry Bomb and it's a wee angry cherry on it, you're a bit like, "I so what, mate? I've had the Damnation sauce. I can handle this." No, you can't. It melts your fillings. You need to go to the dentist after you've tried this Cherry Bomb. In fact, I only use it for like if you're having a pot of chili to basically spice up the pot of chili. Do not stick it. It's not a dipping sauce. Or certainly not a dipping sauce to me. So when Lou says something's hot, I mean he does have that one called anal vomit. That's apparently nuclear hot. If you can get past the idea that it's anal vomit to start with, then I guarantee that one will burn the teeth out your mouth as well. So if you like things spicy, keep that in mind when you're ordering it. And we can't do a merchandise podcast without a plug for Damnation Clothing too. If you're watching another one of Jim Bob Isaac's designs for Damnation Clothing, go check out the site, damnationclothing.com. Hopefully after you hear this podcast, you'll be like, Jesus Christ, they probably do need a bit of support because there's not quite the profit margins in merchandise that you might think there is. So damnationclothing.com, go and get yourself some summer merch that you can wear to 2000 Trees and Art Tangent. I'd appreciate it. Mr. James.
Yeah. Right, let's have some questions, shall we?
Yep.
Carl McNelly says, can you tell us how you feel about your volunteer staff? I'm always amazed how many volunteers are around and how helpful they are, and generally seem to be having a good time. How important are they to you?
So, I mean, in terms of, we don't have volunteers in the sense that the way that bigger festival like your ones would have the guys at man gates or car parks and fields and or bar staff. I mean, that's all taken care of by professionals. We do have a section of volunteer crew, a group of about 10 folk that have been with us, not even 10, maybe about 7 or 8, have been with us now for years and years and years, and they're basically folk that show up and put the shift in day after day. Show up early, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, help us lift and shift, get the dressing rooms ready, get the merch area ready, have help the bands in with the load-ins, bands with the load-outs. And they're just absolute heroes, each and every one of them. And their payback, I suppose, is the fact they get involved at that level. They enjoy being behind the scenes. They enjoy working so closely with the bands. And a lot of bands massively appreciate them. And you'll see them stoning about at the end of the night, maybe with a free item merch or a vinyl that someone's given them because they've went that extra mile for the bands. And it's a weird one because to replace every one of those people with a paid member of staff would be neither here nor there, in the sense of it would only be an extra grand or so per day on a budget that's hundreds of thousands. So it's not like, oh, you're doing this because it's a cost saving measure that means I can keep the ticket price down. But losing those people, you lose a wee bit of the heart of Damnation, because when you speak to the bands and the tour managers and the managers afterwards, it's often mentioned that, oh, by the way, Graham or Pete or Wilbur, Mike, they went that extra mile. They done something we wouldn't expect, like a paid helper to do. You know what I mean? Somebody's coming in there a wee bit miserable. I'm getting my 10 quid an hour and I'm getting out of here as quickly as possible and going and listening to music I like. It's like the people there are as passionate about being involved in it as myself and Paul are at organising it. So it's something that we've deliberately kept there, because it brings a very passionate heart to the dressing room area and the backstage area, where otherwise I've been in other bits when it's all just paid staff where everybody's just getting their head down waiting for the shift to finish. So aye, we don't do it in the same scale that you do, but the volunteer crew we have are very, very important to us.
Yeah, I mean, I think the great dirty secret of the festival industry is the sort of the outdoor festival industry, at least, is the number of volunteers that there are around the site. Having said that, all the stewards at both of my festivals are from Oxfam, so we do actually pay. We pay Oxfam, the charity, for those stewards. So there's actually money going to charity. That feels like a good thing. In terms of volunteers, the ones that I love the most, and just, they've done so much for 2000 Trees and Arctangent, are the setup and the breakdown helpers. So we get to 2000 Trees like a couple of weekends before the festival, and then we'll be there for a solid like 2-week period. And there's some people there that they have their annual leave. It's like their holiday is 2000 Trees set up. They put up the fencing with us. They when you walk around festivals, there's all the marquees are held up with these big sort of guy ropes, and they've got big pegs, and all the pegs have got foam wrap and tape around the top. There's some volunteers gone around, or a team of volunteers, putting the tape on those pegs and putting the banners on the fencing. And at 2000 Trees, there's a job on our setup schedule, which is pick up sticks in the forest. So we literally go through the forest before the stage goes live and make it look immaculate. And there's just a team of people just picking sticks up, which is not glamorous, but
yeah.
So but these people, we all hang out every night. We have a barbecue together, have some beers together, and they've become real like members of the family. Like, some of them came to my wedding. I've been to their weddings. I went to one of our volunteers' 40th birthdays the other day. It's like, basically we're all one big family, and it's the thing that makes 2000 Trees and Arctangent one of the things that makes it really special and a real community. And someone asked the other day on our Facebook page, the Two Promoters One Pod Facebook page, about, do you want to have more volunteers? And it's like, yeah, if anyone wants to come and help us set up the festivals, that they can. And if anyone wants to help us break down the festival, which means on the Sunday you don't go home, you stay, I will love you forever if you do Sunday, Monday, Tuesday with us. Because it's very tiring, but it's a nice time. We all sit around and we all like talk about the crazy stories that went on and the best sets, and have a beer, put down some fencing. Yeah, it's a great thing. So basically, I love volunteers. They're amazing. And then there's a bunch of others all over 2000 Trees doing lots of jobs like stage managing, arts liaison, event management stuff, wristbands, everything. They're legends.
Are they paid though? I mean, the ones that you've got, like your stage managers and your artist liaison.
So there's basically a team of people. So on every stage there'll be a paid stage manager and a paid probably one or two assistant stage managers that are paid, and then some volunteers who'll be students that are doing like event management degrees. But we've got a great there's a pathway at our festivals that all of the people that are currently paid, nearly every single one of them started as a volunteer. Yeah. So we're trying to push people into paid jobs. Like, two of our full-time employees at the festival started as volunteers. It's a good route in.
I should really chat to you more at length about that, because we get offers all the time about that whole students, and it's not like I'm against it at all. It's trying to find the time and the structure, because what happens often with Damnation is you get dropped into a Manchester car park, myself and Paul, by the Wednesday or Thursday, and then it's like all hands on deck through to the
Yeah.
Sunday. And it's like, we're not really at a stage yet where Paul and I are just signing off in a sense of, oh, come and get us if the shit hits the fan. I mean, we're not even still there yet as the two organisers, never mind being able to have a structure in place where you would have someone making sure that the students are getting what they'll need for it. I mean, they're coming to they want to take something for it rather than just kind of being there milling around aimlessly and not really helping themselves or us. So that's maybe something that I could learn from you guys. And how do you take advantage of the student help here? Because you're totally right, these people are desperate to come in and help out with them. But like, I'm not quite sure where to plug you in without it taking up more of my time to learn how to plug you in.
Yeah. I mean, you need like a decent stage manager that needs more help and is prepared to help these people, and then a decent arts liaison person or whatever, because you're doing a good thing to get a second year university student some experience, because there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah. Okay. So, Mark, Weil,
Yep.
Following on from the question about what would happen to the question about what would happen to the future of the festivals, I take it if one of us get hit with the bus, which he's kindly not added in here, would you consider an offer from the likes of AEG or Live Nation?
Hi, Mark. What a controversial question for you to ask someone that you know. Mark is Mark is one of our setup and breakdown legends. Well, look, I'm just going to be totally honest and say that nearly every major promoter in the UK has approached 2000 Trees to buy 2000 Trees. The idea that I would never sell out my principles would be a lie. I think I've got a family, and they come first. And basically, if someone was to offer a life-changing amount of money, it would at least be something you would think about and have a conversation on. Now, the reality is, I don't want to sell 2000 Trees. Everyone knows what I think about Live Nation. If I ever sell 2000 Trees to Live Nation, I will, in the same week, move to Cuba, and you'll never see me again. It's a tricky one. I think we don't have a long-term plan. We're not looking to sell our festivals, and if I was looking to sell our festivals, there'd be some considerations about who was buying it. But I'm looking after my family above looking after the punters. That's the truth. I know people love 2000 Trees and Arctangent, and so do I, and I intend on owning it forever. But never say never. Mark, you can never come back to me and say you said never.
Would because what's the point of a major promoter coming in and taking 2000 Trees and then changing what 2000 Trees is? I mean, okay, their business practices are different. They're not going to do things the way James Carter does it. However, surely they'd want to keep those vibes. I mean, surely that's the point, or you just go and do your own version in a field, because it's not like Live Nation just can't pop up another festival in every field if they chose to. So, I mean, do you feel that if anyone, not even like to shit in Live Nation continuously, but any with big pockets coming in, you don't think they'd want to keep that sort of vibe of 2000 Trees?
Yeah, but they are buying up festivals. I mean, they are, and 2000 Trees is not too small to be on their radar. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure they would struggle to keep the same vibe. But there's so many previously independent festivals in the UK that are owned by corporations now,
Right.
and it's more than everyone thinks. Loads of these indie rock festivals, they're all owned by someone else than who started them. So we're quite unique in a way. 2000 Trees to be as big as we are and still independent. But yeah, I think you can see why Download might want to own 2000 Trees, because it's like a way of sort of breeding the bands and getting them bigger and bigger and bigger. And headlining 2000 Trees is another step for a Creeper or a Bob Villain or whoever on the step up the stages at Download. Maybe I don't know. I don't want this to end up people thinking that we're going to sell, because we're 100% not. It's not on the agenda at all.
We'll just see almost selling then, James. It's like,
Yeah, I just want to be honest. I do want to go and play golf in Barbados as well.
I mean, in terms of Damnation, there's been some down the years. You get some informal people that, I don't know. Sometimes you get folk that try to play Billy Big Boys, don't you? And they're a bit like, oh, I know this guy who would put the X amount in. There's only ever really been one semi professional conversation with someone who was looking to buy into rather than buy, because it was very much a case of let's invest in Damnation and let that be part of their portfolio with me still running it, which I considered. Like, because I don't have all the answers that it comes to this. I did come into this from a very different background, and there's lots of stuff in promoting that's still, I don't know. I don't know if you pull back the curtain at a Live Nation or AEG, you'd be like, oh shit, this is all the things you're supposed to be doing that I don't do. You know what I mean? Because I've never pulled back that curtain. So there is still stuff that I'm a bit like, oh, you know what? It would be good to have a bit of that professional help. But ultimately, when I thought it through, as I've said previously, a wee bit of control freak. It is my baby. It is successful. It is my full-time job now. What am I really gaining from taking something? And then, like, let's say somebody just comes to the table and go, £1 million, Gav, £1 million, and we'll take Damnation off you. Like, what the fuck am I going to do with £1 million? Know what I mean? It's like, I'm not a rich guy, but £1 million would not change my life at all, in the sense of I would still live in this house, I'd still drive that fucking car, I'd still have the 3 kids and go on the holidays with my wife when we were like, it wouldn't even, I would just have £1 million in the bank. That was it. I would just that would be it, or when after it was taxed. So I'm a bit like, then what? So I'd be 43. I would have £1 million less tax in the bank. And then what am I going to do with the rest of my life? You know what I mean? Fucking drive my wife and kids up the wall. So, I mean, I suppose you never say never to what someone might come in and do. But, I mean, if I was ever going to sell the festival, I'd probably sell it with me attached. It'd probably be very much, you can buy it, but you need to take me with it. And I need to still run the damn thing. So
but then you've got somebody ringing you up going, Gav, how's the headliner booking going for a Night of Salvation? Oh, I don't really fancy that idea. I don't think that really works. And
no,
then it's like, well, I start.
James, it was 5 seconds that example there, and already doesn't work. I already dislike the idea.
Yeah. So that's the problem, isn't it? You don't. Who wants to work for someone else on something they created? And and also, if you've got your ideal, not wanting to sound cocky, but if you've basically somehow in life you've ended up in your ideal job. I mean, I'm talking about me. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I can't really think of a job that would be better than the one I've got that I could actually do. So it's like, why the fuck would I want to change it?
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And I money that was so astronomically stupid that you would just, your family would be like, come on, at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to them, your kids, to take it, then maybe. But ultimately, even at £1 million, I'd like to think I'd say no.
I mean, my question for Mark Weil is, Mark, if Live Nation owned 2000 Trees, would you still come and help us?
Exactly.
Help them.
Get that answered, Mark.
Yeah. So Daniel Singleton's got a good question here. He says, it's something I've always wondered. Both Trees and Arctangent have some stages where the tent supports are right at the front and center of the stage. Have you ever looked at changing the orientation to lessen the effect of this? Now, this is a bit what Daniel means, for anyone who hasn't been or doesn't really know, is it's called a king pole. It's the thing that holds up the tent, holds up the marquee. Now, the size of tents we have, the width of the tent will either have one king pole, and the king poles run in a straight line down the middle, just one line of them, or like on the main stage at Arctangent, because it's so big, there's 2 lines of them. And if you've got 2 lines, you're in a lovely situation where the middle one there is no middle one, so it's not blocking your view. But all the other stages at Arctangent and 2000 Trees have a central line of poles which block the view, and you can't change the orientation of the tent without losing loads and loads of punter space. These tents are long rectangles, so there's no, you can't put the stage in the corner. So you've got to have it on one end of either the side or the end. And there's just, I've thought about this a lot also, Daniel, and there is no better solution. Now, this is a particularly big problem when you have projections. You've got to work out how to project without having a fucking pole in the projection. So let's wait and see how that goes for Amon-Ra this year in Yokai. But there's not a lot you can do. Some bands don't like it. So Alcest didn't like it when they headlined Yokai a couple of years ago. And I think Alcest's agent said to me, I think it was, I was booking Igor. And basically, I tried to get Igor for Yokai, and he was like, "No, Igor aren't going on that stage because Alcest didn't like it. We want him on the main stage."
Really? But how?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I've seen all different variations of this. When I say variations, are just how tight that king pole is to the tent. So if you remember back to Arctangent, a year that Orms played, it was like the guy Paul was holding the king. So he's in the stage, and it's right there. So if you put a vocalist to the centre of the stage, he's behind it by a foot. And then I've also seen the versions where I take it like Callous Cowboys played last year, where it seems it's a bit further out behind the barrier. Am I right in saying that? Or did they all slap bang right onto the front of the stage?
Well, because what you got to think is all the tents are a different dimension, right? So the length of Yokai stage is, I've forgotten. The length of Bixler stage, or it's the same as the cave for anyone from Trees, is 40 meters long, right? So you've got, I think there are 3 king poles. So the tent is divided into 4 10-meter sections. And so you've got 10 meters to play with before you hit a pole. Now, you don't want to be building your stage around the pole. So the furthest forward your stage can go is up against the pole, 10 meters in. But if your staging area that you're standing on isn't that big, you might then move it back. It's like, how much build space do you want behind the stage? How big is the stage need to be? And then you've got a pit area for crowd surfers to be caught. How big do you want that to be? So all of those things, there's 3 different dimensions there that you can fit in that 10 meters.
Yeah.
And you tell me how big you want it to be. I'm not saying I've got it right. It sort of changes from year to year. But at Yokai, as an example, the stage is really fucking big, and we need lots of build space because the bands are big.
Yeah.
So the stage is probably quite far forward and probably butts close up to the king pole.
Yeah.
And really, whether this sort of audience viewing isn't your number one consideration, unfortunately, in that situation, you've got to make the production work, and you need a big enough stage.
So I'm looking now for him now. Really looking forward to. So what's the situation with Amon-Ra and the giant bed sheet?
Mate, I sent Sarah an email last night saying, "Don't forget, Yokai's got a big fucking pillar in the middle of it."
So oh, sorry, not cutting you.
Well, so it's about where. I think it will be about where you throw the projections from, how far back they are. I don't think you'll throw it from central at the back of the marquee, because you'll come straight through the king pole then.
Right.
But maybe we will. I mean, frankly, it's black on white, isn't it? So I don't think it would actually wouldn't have a massive effect on Amon-Ra. I think it could work. If it was clowncore and you were in the middle, it would be shit. So
yeah. I mean, hopefully Colin just keeps his back turned the whole time and never recognises it.
That is usually his vibe, isn't it? Amon-Ra guy.
So just because this is something I thought about when we were talking about the art tent the last time. Did you know at the time in Godspeed You Black Emperor were playing in that projection that the king pole in the middle of the art tent was going to stop the projection, and did that become a problem for the band, or was that overlooked?
Well, when you said that in the podcast the other week, I thought to myself, is that actually true? Is that true? Is that definitely true?
Of course it's fucking true. It's like I made up.
Because
your projection must have been from where your sound desk was there, or above that, and it was definitely going through that. Because I remember looking and going, how fucking odd is that? Like
So to do the projections for Godspeed, we had to build an extra tower on top of the sound desk and their projection artist person had to crawl up into this really small space, because do you know how they do their projections?
It's
like
amazing.
Burning film. They're like, it's like live done. Every single show is different.
And
so
he moves
in many ways,
it makes it a really good bit, which made me think even more, because if you think about it, so Greg Fidellinger climbed up the pole that was in the middle. So they projected, what you're saying is they must have had to go through that huge big king pole in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And it was about, but that was, you never ever heard anything about that. No one ever complained.
No, and it's certainly been lost to the mists of time in my memory as well.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for bringing that back up for everybody.
That's okay.
Let's talk about the great merch debate. Do you want to explain to people what we mean when we're talking about merchandise? You're much better at setting the table. I just kind of launch into these things.
Yeah, so I mean, for those of you that don't know, there's quite a lot of controversy in the music industry about merch cuts, and what that means in a music venue is when the band goes to play in that venue, they may have to pay, let's say, 20% of their merch sales to the venue. And in the context of festivals, there may be a similar type of percentage that is charged on the band. So they are selling t-shirts that are their t-shirts or their posters or their vinyl or whatever, and they are getting charged a percentage cut, which is being taken by the festival or venue, and that is extremely controversial, and people get very, very excitable about it.
Excitable is a very kind word.
Yeah, is that a fair intro?
Yeah, it's probably bubbled away under the surface for as long as time itself, but the £80 Gojira hoodie seemed to be the firework. When Gojira toured last year, the year before, and there was an £80 zipper hoodie in the academy venues, it's when the internet gets set on fire. I mean, how did we get from £20 hoodies 5 years ago to £80 hoodies? And then the bands, so the fans were in uproar. The bands came back and said, look, when you're playing these academy venues, the fees are extortionate. It all gets a wee bit complicated when you're going through Europe. You get like some bands will be saying like they go into Milan, and by the time it's done, it's like by the time local tax can be like 46% of your merchandise. You sell a t-shirt, and 46% of the money goes to the fucking venue and whatever local taxes there are. And they're a bit like, how is there anything left? The price of merch, and I can talk about this at length. The price of merch has went through the roof. It's absolutely skyrocketed. If you want to then have better quality merch, it skyrockets with it. So it's a complicated one. If you're going into bricks and mortar venue and selling 300 tickets in a place, and the place is a wee table at the side, a wee grubby table beside some shithole toilet, and they're trying to take 20% off your merch when you're trying to sell t-shirts, is that the same as showing up at Art Tangent, Bloodstock, Glastonbury, Download, where they've built entire infrastructure there for you to be able to sell your? It's not the same. And there has to be a sliding scale of what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what's morally right, what's financially right. And I suppose we tackle from our festivals in very different ways. Yet somehow, in a lot of ways, end up at the same point when it's actually explained. What people don't like is just what seems like robbery up front and centre. Why am I getting charged £80 for a hoodie? And then if you explain that to me, why are Gojira getting charged £30 to sell a hoodie they had to buy to start with, that venue that had nothing to do with? They never paid the art, they never bought the t-shirt, nothing. They're just getting the money to side it. So it's a complicated one, it's controversial. As James says, it gets people excitable. I would say absolutely fucking fuming. And we're going to try and address it from our points of view.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so you're right. We do it very differently. So cards on the table. This is what I do at 2000 Trees and Arc Tangent. So all bands are allowed to bring their merch to the festival's merch area and hand it over to our merch team, and they are charged. You will then be charged 20%. So if you sell a £10 t-shirt, we're going to take £2 of it, and you're going to get £8 back. And basically, the reason for that is that I was at 2000 Trees last year, and where our merch stand is a sheep field at the moment, right? So to make that a merch stand, we spend a few £1,000s on a marquee. We spend hundreds of pounds on these sorts of things: tables, lighting, power, Wi-Fi, a POS system to take the payments, fencing to hang all the merch on, and a lot of staff. So it's important to remember we're in a field. I also think it's worth imagining what 150 band music festival would be like if you let the bands run their own merch, and how the fuck that would even work, and how big that area would have to be, and how chaotic it would be, and you'd never find the right merch, and it would just be madness. So we got this team run by Kev from Big Scary Monsters record label, who him and his team, I can't name them all because there are so many of them, but they are fucking legends. They do a brilliant job. And basically, they're there from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day, right? Big bands will be on sale the entire weekend of Arctangent. So if you are, let's say, Meshuggah, we will have Meshuggah's. When the festival opens on Wednesday, Meshuggah, I'm using this as an example, so don't quote me on it in August, but one of the headliners, Meshuggah, will have their merch on sale Wednesday, the first time you walk in that merch tent. And if you go in there on Saturday night, it'll still be there, even though Meshuggah came in and out in a day. So that, not only does that make a big difference to the band on how much they sell, it makes a big difference to the punter, and they're not constantly panicking that a band's merch is in and out. So I actually had a little chat with Kev earlier on to just find out what he does. And he basically said to me, they get the stock sent to them. They bring the stock to site. So Meshuggah or Heilung or whoever's merch is coming to site with our team, not the band. It's coming to site with our team. He told me this one story, which is brilliant. In the case of American football at ATG, I'm reading what he sent me. In the case of American football at ATG a few years ago, he contacted their manager 2 months ahead of time, worked with her on designs, quantities, and pricing. He arranged the printing. He got everything delivered to Arctangent. It was on sale from the moment the doors open until the end of the weekend. On Saturday night, Kev walked over to the barn with a few £1,000s in cash. The band was sat there eating pizza and playing air guitar, and they didn't even know they had any merch on sale. And basically, here's a few grand. And I think, because part of the 20% goes to Kev, and I think, frankly, when you add the marquees, the tables and chairs, the power, the Wi-Fi, and Kev's incredible team, and the months of fucking about they've done to make this all happen, it's totally justifiable to charge 20%. And a music venue is not doing any of those things. And it is and maybe if they did do those things, they could charge 20% as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is really my opinion.
Yeah, listen, and I totally agree. And I tell you what, here's the proof is in the pudding. I have done that exact same deal with Arctangent. I'll skip a few steps and we'll go back to Damnation in a minute. But I run Damnation clothing. I asked you last year, could we sell a few items of merch at Arctangent? And you said yes. There was no mates handshakes, there was no underhand deals, there was no anything. That I was treated exactly like an artist would be treated. Deliver the merch to allotment. Is it that Kev's involved in? Or is it someone different?
Mate, I don't want to renegotiate this deal, but I don't want fucking 20% off you this year.
Right, okay, great. Well, let's not do that right now because we want to advance that. Magic, that is not the way to do this. So, gets his stuff sent, and so I think that was my artist experience. So I arrive at Arctangent, my merchandise is on a fence, all pristine, sitting with the price tags up, already been sold. By the time before I've even arrived on site, it started being sold. It sold at the mediums fast, the large trees all went. There doesn't seem to be very many rotund people at Arctangent. No one wanted the triple XLs and the quadruple XLs, but the mediums, the smalls, and the large all went pretty fast. And then at the end of it, you get your settlement and you go, boom, that's what you got. That's the 20% that we took for selling. And you're like, well, that's a service, isn't it? I mean, ultimately, I had the choice to continue to sell that merch from my website, from my festival where I don't have a 20% charge, from anywhere else. I can go up and beg, steal and borrow. I can go to any market and try to sell. But there you go. I had the opportunity to be like an artist at Arctangent and take that 20% out. And what did I get in return? Exposure to 10,000 plus fans. For it to be there, for it to be professionally managed, and then me getting a spreadsheet at the other side, which I've got in front of me, which tells me exactly everything, stock quantities in and out. And you're like, makes total sense. at 20% at a festival, I can see why bands are, because the money always seems so obscene. They're like, you never printed it, you never done anything, yet you're getting this money. At Damnation, to then go back a few steps, we don't enforce any charges. If you want to show up at Damnation and sell your own merch, you can do it for free. You can show up and you can do it free. Because I have probably got a bit more of the indoor venue mentality of course, or I did at Leeds. Now, this is what happens at Beck Arena. The huge tent that you see the merch market and the seating in is £6,600 for that to go up, whether it's for 1 day, 2 days, the weekend. £6,600. The tables and chairs inside it, another 500. So there's you now got the tent, the tables, the chairs, and the lighting in for what's that, £7,000. Then, if you do want us to sell it, in which case a charge of 20%, same as any other festival, we bring in the merch sales. Now we put that to 24 bands last year. 13 chose to go with the 20% route. 13 bands from the openers to Electric Wizard themselves, the headliners, chose the 20% route, because when you actually boil it down, if you sell £2,000 worth of merch and you need to give Damnation 400 quid, you're probably not getting a merch seller 150 quid. The hotel, 120 quid. Seat in the van, flight, if it needs to be a flight, another couple hundred quid. You're not getting a merch seller for to Manchester, paid for a couple of days, accommodation, seat in a van, flight, whatever it needs to be, for less than it would be for the 20%. So you're getting bands where you're saying you can sell for free. We're totally fine with you selling for free, and we still get messages now, even all these years later. I think Kurukuma get back to us like, fuck me, man, we've played some big festivals and we really need every single penny, and we can find a local seller who'll do it as a favour, and you guys allow us to show up in a lit tent with a free table and get, I mean, they're getting paid pennies for playing. They need to get that extra couple hundred quid for the merch. Brilliant. They deserve it. You can have it. But the rest of them, your Enslaves, your Leprosies, your Julie Crispy stuff, like the actual hassle and ball, like not to pay Damnation the 20% to do it, it makes no sense whatsoever. So it's weird because sometimes you get bands that it's their kind of almost their own brand to be like fight back against the merch cut, fight back against the charges. But again, it's more towards the venues. In Milan, you're showing up, you're getting 46% taken off you for some guy who's kind of half asleep behind a merch table, no counting in, no counting out, and telling you, oh, there's your couple of grand back after what you should have had 4 or 5 grand there. So it's more of a nuanced conversation than just saying, oh, you're getting robbed for nothing.
Yeah, no, I just think the bands that didn't take you up, I don't think it's got a good rationale behind it. They'd be much better off taking you up, because unless you're really on it, you're not going to have the merch desk manned for the whole time, and basically you're going to make more money by just getting a professional to sell it for you, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to obviously been to Damnation in Leeds a bunch of times, and you know, some bands are great at it. You never see a Bosk desk unmanned. Doesn't matter how stoned they are. There's always
here's the point, right?
Someone there.
Let's heap praise. We never shut up about Bosk. Tom Begley is Converge's merchandiser. He was Bring Me Horizons fucking merchandiser. The guy knows exactly what he's doing. He took Damnation's 20%. He took it, but he was about like, and not like that, this is a fucking genius of this. I hate fucking complimenting him to him, because he sent me messages today telling me about what bands I like being shite and all that. So.
He sent me a negative message about you today as well.
Well, good. Well, at least you're in the loop, because he sent that to me. So I mean, he's not as good as he thinks he is. Let's put it that way to start with. But his band's great, and he is experienced with merchandise. He was like, you know what, Gav? Bosk sell a shitload of merch. How about we let you sell it, but you keep it on there for 2 days? And I'm like, for fuck's sake, this guy gets, I mean, he sees the bigger picture of it, and he's about like 20% at the end of the day. And I tell you another thing he did, the hot sauces sell for £7 or £8. They've got the Bosk sauce. He just made it a tenner. He's like, well, there's your commission. If the fans want it, they'll buy it. We won't lose anything. No one needs no heartache. There you go. It's an extra. The hot sauce is £10 instead of £8, and the £2 extra that we lose goes to you, and we lose nothing. And you're like, fair play.
He's good.
It's good.
Yeah, I think so. It sounds like we're actually attacking it from a pretty similar place.
Yeah,
and I would still argue that the fan experience is better with the bands having it being sold by the festival, because they've got more chance of being able to get what they want and it not being some big panic. And you can have it over multiple days as well.
And both of us would probably sit in the same side of the fence as the bands and the fans, ultimately, that when you're getting into some of these wee shitty wee venues and they are taking huge amounts, chunks at your that's wrong morally, business, financially. It's just not. It's not right. And I mean, I suppose with the bands, what is the pushback? You're seeing some bands were Igor, what they weren't made the stand that would refuse to have their merch sold in one of the venues. I saw some Chemists and another band that make a big deal about the fact that they're not going to be robbed with our merch as well. But what is the answer? If you're saying Damnation is saying sell it if you want, Arctangent saying look, it is 20%, but here's the service you'll get for it over a course of a full weekend with a professional staff. What's the pushback for bands? What can they do?
Yeah. I mean, I just don't understand their point. And actually, the people that there was one or two bands last year who publicly got arsey with Arctangent for the merch charge, and these bands never even approached. Like, no agent came to me and said this band are really pissed off. It's like they're making a blanket point against any merch charge anywhere, and I just think that's fine. I'm open to having a conversation about it. I'm not open to changing the percentage on a one-off basis, but I'm open to talking about it and being like, let's be nuanced about this. You just spent $6,500 on a fucking marquee, and they want you to sell their merch for free with a team of 20 people behind a merch desk. It's like, this doesn't, the finances of that don't stack up. So, and look, I've got some fun facts here that bands are making a lot of money. The highest earning band at Arctangent last year was they took 10 grand in merch one day in one festival show, 10 grand. The highest at Trees was 5 grand. Interestingly, the highest ever merch earner at 2000 Trees was Anta Shikari quite a few years ago. So they're the winners at the moment. My best fun fact here is that in 2019, Sleep Token came 18th in the league table of highest sellers, and they were behind Pine and TTNG. Fucking brilliant. Sleep Token, who are now literally the biggest band in the fucking universe, 18th on the league table, guys. I've got some good news for people if you want to have a little bit of good news.
Please.
I hope this isn't trumping you, because your festival's not till November, so you may not have an idea of what you're going to do. But I got some exclusive. Kev said I could tell you these things about what you're going to be able to get at 2000 Trees and Arctangent this year. So first of all, at 2000 Trees, we're doing a football shirt. So you can buy a 2000 Trees football shirt. Kev's had it designed. It's fucking awesome. It's like disgusting. It looks like it's like from the 90s, when everyone had wrong kits. It's great. So 2000 Trees football shirt, tea towel, which was my idea, is going to be great, believe me. Hot sauce. It's called. We've chosen a name. It's called 2000 Degrees. Kev wanted me to point out that my brother wanted to call it the Pope of Chili Town, and that was an insane name. 2000 Degrees is a brilliant name.
2000 Degrees is a great name.
Yeah. So that's Kev putting the boot into Rob a little bit, which I know you like, Gav.
This is gonna be a new thing. Although I have to say, we'll continue with you in a second. Paul, the guy who organised Damnation with, is enjoying the whole Rob getting stuck in, and he's like, I need to get involved in this as well. So he's gonna be coming up with stuff to get stuck into both ways as well.
Paul, if you're brave enough, bring it on. Take on the big man.
Bring it.
Okay, so that's 2000 Trees. So pretty excited about that. ATG. We are doing a 10-year magazine. It's going to be a 100-page you can hold it in your hand magazine. There is a wonderful guy called Darren who is currently interviewing a shit ton of bands. He's interviewed you, I believe, Gav.
It has. Well, I was sworn to secrecy, so I'm glad you've mentioned it now.
Yeah, there's going to be loads. It's going to be really cool. Limited editions. I think we're going to do 500 magazines, 5 different covers. So there'll be 100 of each limited edition. It's going to be super cool, like a one-off 10-year celebration. There'll be a tea towel. There's going to be a rain jacket. Kev reckons a rain jacket, which Arctangent obviously totally unnecessary. And yeah, the last thing is we're going to do a couple of book signings. Now, I'm not doing a full announcement here because I can't tell you whose books they are, but I've got something exciting up my sleeve. So feels like there's a really good, exciting merch year coming for Arctangent. But basically, the magazine for Arctangent and the football shirt for 2000 Trees. It's going to be cool.
It's going to be great. It's going to be. I love that people absolutely love different merch as well. They absolutely love it. It's just it's like even when we've done the Steins, people just love something that's a wee bit different for your usual. There's your t-shirt and your hoodie. So that sounds great. Looking forward to seeing the football shirts. Although I'm definitely a guy, I'd like just a nice football shirt, know what I mean? And you're talking about 90s Manchester United grey horror kit.
I tried do you remember Man United used to have that? There's a blue and white one, which was absolutely
I had
disgusting.
that blue and white one for some reason. I have no idea why I had that. I had that blue and white one. I think I read too much Match and Shoot back in the day, and I had a fucking blue and white Manchester United fucking strip.
So I was trying to get Kev to copy that, but I think he thought it would put a few too many people off. But it's kind of inspired by the garish 90s.
Right. Okay. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Listen, and I hope we've not been too negative for that whole one. I feel like we've been doing a wee dark path there when I talk about the male stuff. It's all comes to a good place. I'm looking forward to your merch.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Look, I'm happy that I got a chance to, for once, tell my side of the story about the merch, and that we're not the bad guy charging merch cuts. I don't think so.
Yeah. I suppose you're always painted that way, isn't it? It's because you are. When you look at it in black and white, there is no difference in a fan's or maybe sometimes a band's head between you and pick any brick and mortar venue in Bristol or Gloucestershire. It's like, oh, they're just doing the exact same thing. It's not the same thing. So that was fair enough to get that across. So will we end with some absolutely banging tunes for on the record?
Okay, let's do it. Do you want to go first?
I will go first. I'm going to go with a metalcore, hardcore, classic, Bleeding Throughs, Love Lost, and a hail of gunfire, which you will hear this year at Damnation. Now, that's how else would you describe it? An absolute banger for way back the day. That when it starts, because it's got that sample. I forget the film it's from. For a long time, I thought it was a different film, and it just huge metalcore choruses, and then a big breakdown where you can just see people going fucking absolutely crazy. And like frontman, even all these years later, is still an absolute bodybuilder. So you can see it. It's gonna turn into outbreak for 3 or 4 minutes. The place is gonna go a bit wild. So I'm looking forward to it. I just felt that the playlist needed a wee bit of spunk. So there we go. Bit of Bleeding Through. What have you got for us?
Lovely. Well, I don't know Bleeding Through, so I mean, I'm obviously aware of them, but I've never listened to them, so I will go in on that in preparation for November. I've got Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum for you. And did you give a song for Bleeding Through there, Gav?
Yes.
I know you're a stickler for.
Yeah, absolutely a stickler for it.
So Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum, their song is called Salamander in Two Worlds. Now, this is some fucking bonkers shit.
Imagine my surprise.
Even for me, this is on the edge. So this is kind of like very eccentric prog. It's weird. Some very unusual. Like, so I'm gonna do a weird description now. It's like Mr. Bungle with a bit of Jethro Tull, which is your 70s prog, with like West End show tunes, and then it's got like splashes of the Mars Volta. When it goes really soft and really gentle, it reminds me of the Mars Volta. it's super out there. It's super interesting. I don't know if I even fucking understand what the hell's going on. But I've been listening to the album quite a lot, and it's just fucking mad. I really want to get them to Arctangent in 2025. So yeah, if anyone wants to listen to something crazy, then check that out.
You are always going to know when you land in that playlist which one Gav picked and which one James picked. And bleeding through into Sleepy Gorilla Museum time.
Close. Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum.
There we go. That is, I've heard the name kicked around because I think that the guy, Andre, who runs Amplifest, if he hasn't booked him this year, he's certainly mentioned him in some sort of capacity to me. So that's where I recall the name from. And he's very much down your wacky. Do you know the guy? Have you ever spoken to Andre in any
No,
sense?
I don't. I tell you what, I don't want is my music taste being described as wacky. No fucking way.
He probably isn't that happy with me describing his music taste as wacky either, to be fair. I imagine.
I mean, this is wacky actually, but this is my only wacky.
I imagine if we sat you, Walter for Roadburn, and Andre for Amplifest in a room, the threes, but it'd be like fucking wacky music top trumps.
Right, I'm banning the word wacky from now.
It's all good. It's all good. Thank you. Thank you. Let's till next week we go again.
We'll be here.